Hi, everyone. Welcome back to a new episode of Emerging Brands Podcast with Kelly Bennett. I have someone who I truly enjoy following along on her journey of building her brand. I've seen her in real life at really cool events in New York City. She is really out here building a very unique, cool brand. Ilay Karateke is here. She is the co founder and CEO of BEZI, and I'm so happy you're here.
Me too. I feel like we were planning for so long, so I feel
I
like
know it's
the
happening.
day. It is
Uh,
happening.
a little backstory, we met at the female founders picnic with Empowered Economy. Rachel's been on the podcast, and that event was so special of just seeing who is in New York City building really great, amazing, emerging food and beverage brands. You were one of the brands I connected with. And right when I saw you, your packaging, your story, I was like, I have to get her on the show. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us, and shout out to Rachel. I think she's
Yes.
made a lot of amazing connections out in New York City. So
She really is a great connector. So, I would love to dive into your backstory of your career and then how you became a co-founder and CEO of a really cool emerging CPG brand. But if you could take us back a little bit, that would be awesome.
absolutely. So I have a non-conventional background for a lot of folks, I think, doing this. So my background is I was a consultant at McKinsey majority of my life. So the folks who are not familiar with McKinsey is one of those like Fortune 500 consulting firms. I was in their financial services division, really doing analytical models on banking, nothing to do with food. So I started my life in Istanbul. Actually, I'm born and raised in Istanbul, came to New York City with Columbia Business School. And the beautiful thing about my previous job is they would sponsor the business school and then you need to go back.
Incredible.
It was incredible. So I was here in New York City, in Columbia, literally have all the time in the world. MBA is, I mean, I'm sorry, I've been there. I think I can say this is a fake school. So you're kind of going, but there's literally nothing. You just like hang with friends, make new friends. I was like, I want to learn something that I'm really passionate about. And at that point, it was cheese. So this was year 2018, literally my first like months in New York City. I literally cold like cheesemakers around like upstate New York in the city, like anyone that I could find. And one person got back to me. It was Salvatore Brooklyn. It was a ricotta maker out of Red Hook. So I was like, I'll come and do anything. Literally, this is like an unpaid, I'll do whatever you guys need to do. So remember my first day, I was like, oh, let me find your like a bit the margin, consultants. I don't know how
Right.
I can contribute. So I remember them giving like a box of paper invoices and they're like, here we go. Find out how much we're paying for milk. So I did that for yeah, that's how I
Wow.
started. So I did that for them for I think about 6 months. And then I realized I actually want to learn more. So I found a farm around the Mediterranean coast of Turkey that is doing these amazing cheeses for a lot of the close to Michelin star type of restaurants in New York City, in Istanbul at that point. So I was like, let me just come and work for you guys. And they were like, what are you gonna do? I'm like, whatever you want me to do. So I actually worked there at a farm for a month as my summer internship. And what was really funny is that I have all my friends doing like Goldman Sachs and Google Product Manager. And I was like, I'm just gonna go milk some cows over here. So did that for a month. Learn how to milk cow, learn how to milk sheep, make cheese from scratch. It was this like fantastic farm experience. And I
Wow.
remember my dad driving me there because it's like 5 hours away from Istanbul. And my dad's like, what are you gonna do here? Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, this is fine, it's great. Like, I have a job anyways. I'm gonna go back to McKinsey, New York. Like, I want to experiment something. Really fell in love with cheese making, and I tried to make my own healthy cream cheese recipe. This was like 2019. Kind of like had a good one, kind of okay to start with, but at that point I've learned that you need to like have 1.5 million to get the recipe set up and get it up and running. And at that point, like Kelly, my school was being paid by McKinsey, but if I chose to like not do that, that's 200K right there
Right.
salary at that point, like visa, like I was like, this is no way I can do it. This was fun, great. And it was a little like, like a joke kind of thing when I went back to McKinsey, but never taught anything about it. Come actually 2022. So I left McKinsey for like a Getter, which was like a scale up that is delivering groceries in minutes. We then acquired Fresh Direct. While I was there was a leadership meeting, and then within the leadership meeting, there was this one intern that was like working, like really helping with the slides, and I knew that he was great. That's actually my co-founder. He's heir of one of the biggest cheesemaker families in Turkey. So his surname,
Whoa.
think of like Kraft. That's his surname. His surname is Bahçıvan. Like everyone buys Bahçıvan cheese. So I'm like, hi, how are you doing? I love cheese. Literally, no, like nothing in my mind than just like really wanting to talk about cheese. I'm like, I should show you my recipes because like no one cared. Kelly, no, I couldn't show my recipes to anyone. So I'm like, what do you think? I got all these like temperatures and milk stuff. And he was like, this is great. So we became good friends after that leadership meeting. And I went to like at that point, like his boss, and I'm like, what are you doing with this guy? Like, I have a lot of big projects. I need this dude. He's great. Give the dude to me. Like, I need him for the summer. So he came and worked for me for the summer, and Kelly, him and I became really good friends. And you met him actually at the event.
Yes, yes, yes. So this okay, this is so full
That's
circle. And
full
it just
circle.
so happened that his family owned like the biggest cheese producer in Turkey.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
keep
know.
going. I just want to make sure I heard that correctly.
So like him and I became like really good friends, worked for a year. And at that point, like he was graduating, he was like, hey, I don't think like Getter is gonna do well, or I don't feel like passionate about it. I'm just gonna go back to family company. I'm like, that makes sense. So we kept in touch, and he came back to me around like 2023 saying that, hey, we're thinking of doing something in the US. And I'm like, I have an idea. Because what was like really like I never thought while I was like friends with him and while we're working, this could be like I always seen that what I did as a cheese was something fun I did. That would be
Right.
great talking piece. You know, people laugh. They're like, oh my God, how do you milk a cow? And then that would be it. And then that's how we started. So we've decided we did a lot of like consumer research on what like my hypothesis was labneh is going to pick up. So we did the Google Trends search, looked at all the restaurant menus, seen that actually this category was really blowing up. And I was like, this is like the company itself is a very dairy tech forward company in Turkey, and Turkey branding doesn't mean that much. I'm like, this is great, but we need to like carve out something that is the identity here, a company here that has
Right.
its own like recipe that is very Americanized with an Americanized branding. And they believed in my vision. So we became co-founders through this. We carved out the separate entity. We created the recipe with my co-founder for a year. All these like BEZI that we're eating in the US does not exist in Turkey. So these are all the recipes that we built for BEZI, him and I. And we've created a branding working with Red Antler, and I had a connection with them
Yes.
at
I
previous
was
job.
going to ask you how that connection happened.
So I wanted to have them do a rebranding for Getter. And I was so passionate about it that I took it like I was reporting to CEO and the CEO to the co-founders. I took it to co-founders a million times, and they were like, no, no. And I thought that was a fantastic idea. So when I wanted to do this, I reached out to Julia, which is our like or person leading the project. I was like, Julia, I think I'm gonna do like a labneh thing. Like, would you be interested? And she was like, let's grab coffee tomorrow. She literally like booked me for tomorrow coffee, 9 a.m. And she was like, we're in. And at that point, we were able to also get some government subsidy. They were
Oh,
very helpful
cool.
on build, and that whole thing happened, which is like
Major.
it's major, and they're fantastic supporters, and I would call a lot of them like my friends now as like we're doing this project. But it was the perfect setup, and the team was fantastic. So Mike Ciancio was a creative director of Chobani, and he was the guy to actually build the labneh category. He understood it immediately, loved the product. It was fantastic. And then Rue was our client director, which is a Turkish girl who's been living here for 10 years. So very much similar to my vibe, and understood Bahçıvan back in Turkey, what we're trying to do with the category here.
Right.
Probably it was like it was written in the stars moment. And
Right.
here I am after, I guess, like all of that thing.
So that was almost only just a year,
This
right?
was a year ago. So like I think September 23rd was the time like we took a picture of our first kitchen test. Kelly. It was like literally the kitchen
Wow.
here. I got the vinegar, the lemon juice, whatever. That was our first kitchen test. And
Incredible. So it's
yeah.
only been a year and you've done so much in a year. Truly a remarkable amount of traction you've made in a year. So what did you so after you got the branding done, which is gorgeous, you got your website up, you landed on a formula, you're like, okay, it sounded like you also got some grants or something along those lines to help. What was then that next step to actually bring it to market? Like, what did that look like, behind the scenes?
Yeah, I think that was like the toughest part to get it up
Right.
and rolling because up until that point it was a project and I had a day job. My co-founder had a day job, so we were doing this behind the scenes, the weekends, the nights, and whatnot, but it never felt real. I think things started becoming real when we officially launched, which was like on fans, like right on Fancy Food. So that was the end of June.
Oh,
That's
okay.
when it started. Before
This
that, it was
past June.
yeah, this past June is where
Wow,
we
okay.
started.
This is
So
amazing.
up
Okay.
until then, I was like head of merchandising. It was like doing this strat. So it was very much like a project that we were doing behind the scenes. So
Right.
once that is landed, we were like, okay, we're officially launching. This is our launch date. So I became like publicly with all of my time, like the co-founder and CEO of BEZI, which like on LinkedIn changed everything. I'm like, okay, this is my new identity now. Left my previous job. And we did not have the product then, by the way. We had a factory batch, which I think I can say it right now. Now we're past that point. So we would get the factory batch in a heavily, heavily cooler bag, like with ice and bunch of like the most high-tech cooler situation, put in their luggage and bring the stuff here. So a lot of, I mean, if
So
you're a
good.
buyer and like you're listening to this podcast, that is the batch that people tasted and loved it. But that's how we got the product in because we did not have the product. There was no retail packaging. It was literally a tub sealed, like everything about the product.
Right.
So like FDA approved situation, but how we brought it, how are you going to bring the product, you know? So cooler bags, landing them in New York. And Hassan and I were trying to do this for a year with a lot of the trial batches that we have anyway. So we knew how it worked. But we got the factory batch, we got little sample cups with the stickers on it. And we were like, game time. We're just gonna have people taste it in this little cups. So Fancy Foods was actually great because while I was getting on the plane, I saw that Snack Shot was having a party. So I'm like, I don't know, Andrea at that point. I was like, I'm just gonna message her and be like, can you just like have me at this party? Because I used to be a buyer, but I'm not a buyer anymore. Like, can you just have me? And
Right.
she was like, I love it. She posted the brand, and I think we got about like 55,000 views, 865 likes. I saw it on the plane. I'm like, oh, this is happening. And
Wow.
Fancy Foods, we crossed paths. She invited us to the party. We sampled, which was a fantastic sampling event to every like I was like, everything is happening so fast. Like, we don't have the product here yet. So that's how we started. And then once I've seen that momentum, Kelly, I was like, can there be, since the product is, we thought it was fantastic, but everyone realized that it was fantastic. I was like, can I actually get the sample cup situation and take it to retailers like right now? So after Fancy Foods, I mean, my cooler bag is like famous now. So I put the sample
Yes.
cooler bag and went to, like, I have a map of all the grocery stores in New York City, went to every one of them, one by one on foot. So West Side 15th was the first thing I went. And then I was like, Brooklyn Fair, Greenwich Village is next. Like, that one is next. So literally went them one by one with a little card with a QR code that has the sell sheet. At that point, we knew that we needed to do our own distribution. We had our pricing, whatever set up and the product. And I would be like, I would love to like get the order. And we started getting yeses. And the 40 doors that we're in currently is that route I did for in between I need to go back for a production run, but
Sure.
I like a few like 4 weeks maybe in total of walking around New York City to the stores that I think would be a great fit. So that's how we
And
got to retail.
incredible. I love that you were going door to door. I've seen your cooler bag. It's
Yeah.
also just a really cool design, and the fact that you've made it like this very aesthetic moment of carrying around your product. So
Yeah.
when you were going door to door, what was essentially the pitch, that you were telling retailers?
Yeah, so this was why, like, wherever I go, this was the same pitch. So, of course, this was the first one, and then I built on it afterwards. For West Side 15th, I was like, hey, I'm Eli. I live around the corner. We make this fantastic labneh product. We would love to sell us here. And then it would go. But once I started getting yeses, like I got Zay bars a yes, like,
Wow.
Friday, yes, like literally walking in, by the way, with my backpack. So then the next guy I would go, I would be like, we sell it on West Side Market, Brooklyn Fair, Zay bars. Get that. Then like to the next one, I'm like West Side Market, Brooklyn Fair, Zay bars, City Acres. Get the other guy and like really make like this FOMO chain. And they were
Right.
like like how much are you selling for like West Side Market? And I'm like 4.99. And then it would just like really build on that FOMO feeling that people realized it was like a legit operation, even though at that point I really like appreciated them believing in us. Like I had nothing. I really had nothing. But two things were very serendipitous, and I think this is like worth saying because I do a lot of the hustle, and
Right.
80% of like I get nada, by the way, just to like set the standard for a lot of the founders who are hustling. But my, I think, favorite one was how I met with Mark from Village Supermarkets, Wakefern, which is like Fairway and Gourmet Garage were there thanks to them. I stopped his way. By the way, I knew all of their faces. This is gonna sound psycho, but I think you need to be a touch of psycho to be able to do this. Like I knew how. Shout out to Glenn Cunningham. I knew how Glenn Cunningham looked. He was like the main head of merchandising, I think, for like Village Supermarkets. So I knew how it looked like, and I saw him at a startup CPG party. I literally cut his way. I was like, Glenn, hi, I'm Eli. I do labneh, and I think we should sell there. And he looked at me. He was like, what are you doing? And then Mark was there, which was like the dairy refrigerated buyer. He goes like, take my card. I'm like, yes. I'm like, do you want some samples? He's like, no. Take my card. I'm like, great. Then while I was hustling on the streets, recognized Mark on the corner of Gourmet Garage, West Village, talking on the phone. And I recognized him from afar. So I was like, Mark? So I literally like stand in front of him while he finished his phone call for like 10 minutes with a smile. And I'm like, Mark, hi, it's Eli. We met at the startup CPG party. I would love to bring the products here. He goes like, done because of that hustle, like it was this like endless, I mean, serendipitous, but like endless hustle of trying to track down people and being positive, by the way. I think
Yes.
understanding like the space, the boundaries, whatnot, but complete hustle is how we got into those places. Is it tough? I think that like when I write it on LinkedIn, I think people get really excited and they're like, oh my God, this is fantastic. Tell about it. So I'm telling the story. It does feel fantastic. But while you're doing this, Kel, like it was God, like
Ugh.
90 Fahrenheit in August. I had a huge like open wound on my shoulder because of the bag that I was carrying, like hitting it all the time. I was on foot, so like I would walk around like 10 to 15 miles a day. Like it's what it is. And you would like sweat, and then you go to grocery stores, it's cold, and then you sweat again. Like a lot of that, but we're happy what we were able to accomplish. But for all the founders who are looking to do it, if they get discouraged, they should know that this is the standard experience. And then you
Right.
get moments of like luck, which will take your brand forward. Was my experience at least.
What helped you stay motivated? Was it the fact that you left your job and you went all in and changed your LinkedIn and was like, "Okay, I'm really doing this?" Like, what helped you stay really engaged in the process?
Yeah, so I think a few things. First one, Kelly, in my mind, I fully believe in this. It feels like it's done like love
Mm,
is everywhere. And I know this is like a, TikTok like Delulu situation. I am not faking, like I really believe in it. I think this completely makes sense in my mind. So like
yes.
the fact that someone says no, I'm like, this makes sense. Like I would consider myself a like relatively smart person. I'm like, this makes sense to me. I think it's gonna pick up. So I think that like complete belief in what you do drives you because I wouldn't leave my career for this. I think there's
Right.
like lots that comes as like pre-thinking of really believing it and then leaving it. So that was the first one. That's like a bigger umbrella. But do I have really bad days that I like double guess myself? And of course, it's Kelly, I think it's a little harder when you have like my life in New York City. I have a group of fantastic friends who are now in very like senior jobs and amazing institutions, right? It is interesting to be in a room when you have like VPs of Goldman Sachs going on MD, different lives, and then you're like, oh, I'm schlepping labneh in my backpack doing it. You get those
Yeah.
moments, and
Yeah, yeah,
you're like,
yeah.
great, I think I'll catch up eventually. It's like
Yeah.
it is like a whole thing. But in those moments, what I realized is working out is a good mental health component for me. If I don't work
Right.
out in the morning, I'm really grumpy. If I don't work out, I lose my self-confidence. I feel bad. There's like a loop. So I'm trying to like break that loop by every day having a routine that I'm like, I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna work out, I'm gonna feel great. And I
Right.
believe in this. Let's push forward. Um, this is what seems to be working for me. But do I have like bad days? Of course you do. It's just, but then like
Well,
you're like, I believe in this shit and try to
e
do it.
exactly, and I think it's your conviction in finding the path and not being so fixated what it sounds like of, like, this is the exact path of how it's gonna happen. You're really open to being like, "I'm not exactly sure how, but I'm gonna do everything in my power to make it happen," and kinda, like, on for the ride. That's kinda how it sounds,
Exactly. No, I think
which
that's the
is a great way
perfect.
of looking at it.
Yeah.
I think as a founder, and I've done it so ass backwards over the years and try really was so hard on myself, and now in a new way of, like, actually taking care of myself while I'm building and not being so fixated of the how exactly it's gonna happen, but just knowing, like, here's what I see, here are the perimeters that
Yeah.
I see, this is who I feel like I'm talking to, and being open to how it happens. I find that I'm enjoying it so much more this time around.
I love that. And I think that's like a beautiful way to look at it is like, what can you control? And I
Right,
try to think about my this week. Like what do I need to do this week to be on the right path? What do I need to like see it complete in 1 month is what I can control. And 3 months are my targets. And I don't think anything beyond that because I don't know. And also not,
right,
again, not as like to your point, like not knowing what you can't control and having anxiety about it is the worst place to be as a founder. Worst place.
totally,
And you get
totally.
triggered. I don't know if you get triggered on it, but like I, out of goodwill from other people, get triggered on it all the time. For example, how are people gonna eat labneh? Like no one knows labneh in the US. Yeah, no one knows labneh in the US. Like I can't solve that today. And talking about
Right,
it gives me anxiety, but what I can solve is like, am I having the right velocity in this 4D markets that I currently have with the right
right.
density? Yeah, I can. So let me try to solve that is what I'm solving this week. So
Absolutely, absolutely. What do you see as the vision for BEZI? What would you love? I know that we were saying not being too fixated on how it's going to happen, but is there like a North Star or a picture that you have of the brand that keeps you also motivated and focused?
yeah, I think there's like two pieces of the brand. I would say more on like the business side, and I'll talk more on the consumer side. Business side, we want to be a dairy tech forward dairy brand. So what that means is we want to expand our product assortment by capturing just, and I'm like big on this trend, and I don't know what this trend is called, but I believe in real food nutrition when it comes from good sources. Like
Right,
I think there are like two ways of like having nutrition that is respectful to the nature. Mine is more towards like working at a farm, working with animals. Like I think there is a relationship that can be done in a healthy way. So I love dairy. I love that if you respect the animals, like I love that whole situation. So we want to like have a brand that is on that culture with supported by amazing dairy tech that will create this fresh, like non-GMO all natural products that is good and fantastic to eat. So labneh is like what we've started. We ideally in our dreams want to be able to expand on it in a more creative way, is who we want to be by having the right sources of dairy that comes in
Right.
source. In terms of like the consumer facing one, there are two elements that we want to hit. And this is like, of course, will depend on our consumers because they're going to consume the product anyways. One, we want to give the sense of like you're having something that is super healthy, but also you're not eating a piece of cardboard. And this can happen. Like you can have this like indulgent moment that is completely healthy and that tastes fantastic is the first feeling that we want to give. The second thing is like we want people to feel like this is like an easy thing to share and feel elevated in. I think a lot of and then me and my friends talk about it all the time, like especially living in New York City. Like you want to
Right.
go out, minimum $100, like food, Uber, this, that. It's like
Minimum.
want to get like minimum, honestly. So like it actually like what amazing feeling would it be that like a BEZI is like 549. You would get like cute BEZI with like have a little cute table set up, like I don't know, like have a little fish vibe and open up your Gia and then feel elevated
Right.
hosting your girlfriends. We want to create that sense of like community through that healthy eating that is elevated but doesn't break the bank. And that is the feeling we want to create by working with Kelsey Cherry, which was your recommendation.
Yes, I'm so happy that you worked with her for your photography because it turned out stunning and she's just a great photographer to work with. So shout out to Kelsey Cherry. If you're in New York City and need photography,
Oh,
she's
number
amazing.
one. Yeah, don't ever
Yeah.
think. But we try to like replicate that. So it was a
I
dinner
thought
party.
that was so brilliant that your photo shoot was a dinner party that you had hosted, right? And you
Yeah.
captured it.
Yeah, it's
I
like
was
right.
like, ah, she's so smart. That's so good.
Yeah. So that's the vision that we want to create. And labneh is like an unknown product. So I think creating rituals around how to like consume it will anchor on what
Right.
it is in people's minds is what we're trying to do. So we'll see how I think there's a portion of it that like we'll see how people consume our products and then we'll course adjust, but that's what we want to have currently.
Incredible. Uh, we touched upon so much today, and I could really talk to you for hours. But before I let you go, where can people shop the product? I know you mentioned quite a few stores, but where is like the best place for to direct people so that they can find it near them?
Great. So I'll tell like a couple of lists. I think if you're in Manhattan, it's the Fairways, Zay Bars, Gourmet Garage, Eli's Market, and also Happier Grocery and Big Night. If you
Oh,
like
amazing.
shopping, we're there. And if you're in Brooklyn, we are in Green Grape Provisions, Jubilee Market in Greenpoint, City Acres in Williamsburg, Dumbo Market in Dumbo, another Dumbo Market in Cobble Hill. So we are working on our Brooklyn a little bit further, but I mean, Green Grape Provisions, I think it's really cute.
I
So
need to go there. I haven't been yet.
it is actually one of her like best selling stores, which my co-founder was surprised. He was like, "This store is small," and I'm like, "Yeah, people shop here a lot." So
That's great. And is that all on your website too?
all on my website. So
Okay,
if you go
great.
to eatbezzy.com, there's like find your labneh. If you click on it, you would see the list pop
I
up.
love it. Eli, thank you so much for coming on, for sharing, for also kicking ass. I mean, I didn't even realize it was just this just June that you officially launched. And congratulations. I cannot wait to see the continuation of your brand. And we'll definitely have to do like a part two next
Oh,
year of
I would.
like, how was it, after a year plus? And just thank you so much for your time. I look forward to seeing you in real life around the city.
Likewise. Take care.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for listening and go shop Beze. Bye.